We're just going to present the book. It's a collection of articles that were presented for the first time a year ago during the first international conference organized in the frames of the project Reclaimed Avant-Garde. It's called The Spaces and Stages of Avant-Garde Theatre in Central Eastern Europe, and I had the pleasure of editing it together with Zoltán Imre. It was a quite adventurous work, I suppose, because we have to read and edited texts written by different authors from different countries in different languages translated into English. We learned a lot during this process, I suppose. Today we have the pleasure of launching this book together with Allain from Kent University, who was our reviewer. We were happy to have his advice, and we are very grateful for it. I was in Canterbury in spring. It was May, something like that, and I was really I tried to make it the diplomatic way, asking Paul, can you read it more carefully than usually when you're reviewing the book, because we are not sure. And Paul was absolutely great, showing us some weaker points of our book. So I hope that you can say something about it.
Yes, I can.
Lots of generalization.
I made a couple of comments, so I'm not going to read them out, all of them, just some of them. So it was a pleasure, and thank you very much for sending us your articles. But it has some difficulties as well. As you know, editing process is not a pleasant task to do, because you send articles and someone else is correcting it or asking questions and sending back the questions, and so there was some problems, but in general it was quite okay. So the language we decided that used the lingua franca, today's lingua franca, which is English, but we wanted to keep somehow the originality of the individual country. So we asked the authors to send the text with the original title and then translate the original title into English, because when we received the first articles, all the titles were in English, but somehow we felt that it's not perfect. The focus of these articles, we asked the authors to specify each national unity or each national culture's unity through the articles. At the same time, Avant-Garde was a sort of network, and with various nodes, no real single center. So we asked the authors also to connect their articles to other countries and other things. And the third point was the understanding that I tried to read these articles as a foreigner. So I was a foreigner to most of the countries, so it wasn't difficult for me. And we asked the authors to specify the historical, the social, and the cultural context of these performances, these productions, because without these contexts, it is very difficult to understand these productions and performances. So that was all for our task, and that was all for me.
Paul, as an English reader, how you perceive the book?
Well, I wasn't a foreigner to the language, but I was a foreigner to the ideas. Derek, thank you for asking me to be involved in this project, and thank you for asking me to say a few words now. Derek failed to mention that when he came to Canterbury in spring, this was for one night he came over just to have a chat with me, which meant I had to be involved when he asked me to do that as an obligation. Also, I took Derek on the walk from the university back into the city of Canterbury over a fence at the back of a cemetery to see Joseph Conrad's grave. with his name, Korzeniowski, spelt wrong in English as well, very strangely. But there's always some flowers there. And I think it's an interesting example of people who cross the water, who sail around the world, and then who cross the water and settle just outside Canterbury, where his desk sat in a house and is now in Canterbury Museum and is being resurrected as they're recreating a project to create a museum around Christopher Marlowe's work and Joseph Conrad as well. So this is one of those many cross-cultural adventures. And I think, Alvis, you were talking about directors using one key to get open all these many, many doors. I think this is one door, and congratulations to those of you who contributed, because you all found your own key to open this one door. And this door opens many different things, I think. Reading it, I was struck how few of the people I knew. I was kind of excited about, Meyerholt at last, you know, or Tyrov or someone. And it just made me very aware of my, and I think as British scholars, our collective ignorance about this area of work. This is a project which we talked about for a long time, and there was always this sense that this is going to be published in English in the end, and with a conference in English in England. And I think that it culturally does so much in terms of showing us about these connected European cities in this period between the wars, where people were taking ideas and fertilising so much. We know about Dada, we know about Tristan Tzara, but this is a whole kind of development from there of stuff that is about theatre, but about performance, about dance, about movement. It's also a book that opens the door of practice. For me, when I was reading it, it made me want to make work, because it's so visually stimulating. And wow, what an achievement. This book is £8. This is phenomenal. Beautiful, beautiful book. If you haven't looked, you just feel the value. And it's Bryce, if this was published by an English publisher, British publisher, it would not be, it'd be £80 or something. So fantastic to have these East European, Central European gifts to us in English. What we need to do now is make sure that people read it, because it opens this cultural portal to us about these places that, again, I had heard of, perhaps didn't know where they were. And one thing I said to Dariusz and Zoltán was about, perhaps you might need a map of Europe for the readers to actually understand where Croatia is, perhaps, or where these places are, to join up these things. I don't know if you included it, but I'm sure you took that on board as an idea of understanding these places where the performance happened. So it's also a stimulus to practice, but also it's just so rich as something which we need to take and pay attention to, because we think our performance art is challenging, is innovative, and a lot of it has been done before, I think. So it's a salutary lesson, particularly for us in Britain, where we do pride ourselves, as we were hearing earlier, on innovation and originality. And perhaps this book might humble us a bit more as we exit the... I'm sure you've been talking about this earlier. Perhaps I shouldn't even mention it. But so yeah, congratulations to those of you who contributed. I think writing in English is something I've always done, understandably, and I think I've never really appreciated how much effort it takes from people like yourselves and you writers to do this. But I think we've got responsibility now to get those ideas out there, and I think this conference is partly about that. So let's spread the word, and thank you for this, everyone. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I just want to thank again Christina and Edita, who were the coordinators of the publication, and they did a tremendous work of making this book materialized on time.
Yeah,
there was a danger that we won't have it here, and thanks to Edita and Christina, it is with us.
I really like it.
One thing I would like to add is that it's, from one hand, it's a proceedings from the conference, but on the other hand, we asked the authors, and I think that all authors felt it, that because of what Paul said, it needs some, let's say, more basic information inside. So it's not just a classical book of proceedings, but most of the articles have also some basic knowledge to be spread around outside the Central Europe. And one more thing, because there are a lot of pictures, and of course most of them are pictures from the historical productions. But on the cover and inside, you will find the, let's say, parallel narrative, where these are the pictures from two performances, two productions that were created on the occasion of a conference in November 2017 in Warsaw. This one was made by Robert Rumas, and this one by Grzegorz Laszuk and Komuna Otwock. And when we were thinking about the cover for the book, first of all we think about some historical pictures, but then there was this idea of picture from Robert Rumas' performance that took place in the front of Teatr Powszechny, exactly on the spot where the national protesters protest against Oliver Fröhlich's performance Klątwa, and Robert somehow took over their strategies and organized his own, let's say, para-nationalistic performance using some avant-garde movement strategies. So reclaiming avant-garde means also for us to inspire artists to use these historical elements of the historical avant-garde in contemporary context, and we hope that also this book will give an inspiration to some artists in the future. Thank you so much. The wine is still here. We all are still here. We can stay for a couple of minutes, I suppose. And let's hope that you will take a look on the book and take them with you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well done. Nice, great. Well done.